Hello, welcome to the Spreadsheet Sickos podcast, a podcast for people who care way too much about sports. And if you like spreadsheets and stats, you're going to fit right in. I'm your host, Ryan McCrary, and we have a big episode today because yesterday, LeBron James announced that he is signing a 2-year, $8 million deal with the Philadelphia 76ers. The wait is over. We finally know where LeBron is headed. In today's episode, I'm going to discuss what this decision means for both LeBron James and the Philadelphia 76ers, and whether or not this signing makes the 76ers a legit contender. After that, I am going to discuss the landscape of sports journalism and sports media with the recent layoffs that we have seen from both ESPN and Underdog, and also with the context of some recent controversies that we've seen from very popular sports media figures like Matt Miller, as well as Diana Rossini. I'm going to discuss what sports media has become as of late and why these specific controversies have made me very pessimistic about sports media in general and why I don't like the direction that it's headed in. The last thing I will talk about on today's episode of the podcast is Christopher Nolan's latest film, The Odyssey. It came out about a week ago, maybe a week and a half ago, and it is the talk of the town. Everyone's talking about this film. I've seen it twice myself. I want to give my thoughts about it. I also want to discuss the controversy around this movie, which I find to be fascinating. I know this isn't sports related, but movies are something I'm passionate about, and I have a lot of thoughts on this movie. That's all we have on tap today. It's a big episode. I hope you're excited. I know I am. And let's go ahead and dive right in. Let's get this show on the road. We're going to start off by talking about LeBron James signing with the Philadelphia 76ers. The wait's over. LeBron James drugged this out a long time. He milked it. I respect it. I don't blame him. But we finally know where LeBron is headed. And this has been, weeks and weeks of speculation regarding whether LeBron James is going to go join Stephen Curry with the Warriors. Maybe he goes back to the Miami Heat. Maybe he goes home to the Cavaliers one last time. But he ends up going to Philly to join the 76ers. And he actually put out a tweet after the signing was announced that was a series of tweets that were pretty heartfelt and emotional. He talked about how at the end of this past season, he was ready to hang it up. He was ready to retire, but he spent some time talking with his friends and family and decided that he still wanted to work. He still wanted to grind. He still had that edge. So he's coming back for, at minimum, one last season, maybe two, and he is joining the 76ers. A lot of people were shocked by LeBron's decision to go to Philly because as of late, it was kind of speculated that he was likely going to either sign with the Heat or the Cavs. Those were the two teams that he was expected to go to. At one point, the 76ers were reported as a serious contender to sign LeBron. The Warriors were as well. But over the last week or two, it became increasingly clear that the Heat and the Cavs were really serious suitors for LeBron. And then, of course, he ended up signing with Philly. So a lot of people were surprised by that. But I think the reason why LeBron ended up going to Philly is he just really liked the roster. He's obviously trying to win another championship. I think that's been very clear in the reporting. From LeBron's camp and the insiders around the sports media landscape, he wants to win. And the 76ers do have a lot of talent. I think LeBron took Philly seriously as a destination once they traded for Jaylen Brown. And once they made that trade, I think LeBron said, okay, this is a team with a lot of talent. I feel like this is a place where I can actually win a championship now. And I think that is the biggest reason why he went to Philly over these other destinations. I'm still a little a little surprised and a little curious why a team like the San Antonio Spurs weren't considered more for LeBron. I think that was a great fit for him. They need another ball handler. They need a veteran presence on that roster, someone who can take a back seat to, Victor Wembanyama and Dylan Harper, and De'Aaron Fox, while also being able to, scale up his role and handle the ball in late game situations. And I think LeBron could have fit that role, and that would have been a great spot where he can, be on one of the clear contenders in the NBA, while also not having to take on a huge role. The Spurs don't need LeBron to have, a usage rate over 25%. They don't need that from him. And so I was surprised by that, but the talent in Philly is crazy. I mean, you've got Joel Embiid, Tyrese Maxey, Jaylen Brown, VJ Edgecombe, now LeBron James. I mean, their top 5 players are extremely good. And LeBron James is the weakest he's ever been in terms of the impact he provides. He's still very good. I don't want that to come off as disrespectful in any way, but LeBron James is 41 years old. He's at the end of his career. He's not the same as he once was, but he's still very good. He's still, providing all-star level impact at this stage in his career, which is wild. And even with that in mind, considering he is like an all-star, maybe a borderline all-star level player, he's like the 3rd best player on this team, maybe the 4th best player on the 76ers team now, which is crazy. Like the fact that LeBron James is now probably not a top 3 player on the team that he's on is wild. That's insane. And I think he considered that was like, yeah, this is a great place to be for me to potentially win another ring. And so from that standpoint, it makes a lot of sense. If you're just name maxing and talent maxing, Philly makes a lot of sense for LeBron. Now, I do have a lot of concerns about the fit. I was texting a lot of group chats, a lot of people yesterday when the signing was announced, and my initial reaction was, man, I am just not moved, to be honest. And the reason why is because as much, obviously Philly has a lot of talent now. Their roster is loaded with a lot of talented players. But I don't love the fit because they have a lot of guys who are used to having the ball in their hands a lot. And they don't have a lot of shooting. I think the defense can be a little bit questionable. And those are some really big issues. Now, in the regular season, the 76ers should be really good. They should be a top 4, top 3 seed in the Eastern Conference. But in the playoffs, I think things can get tricky. I don't really know how this team is going to utilize their lineups or set up their lineups in a way to effectively utilize all the talent that they have. Because, you've got a lot of guys who need the ball in their hands to be impactful, who aren't great playing off the ball. I've already mentioned the lack of shooting, some of the defensive concerns. You also have to be worried about Joel Embiid's health, along with how many miles you're going to get out of LeBron at this stage in his career. And so, from a fit perspective, I'm just very pessimistic about this team. Now, I think their floor is high because of how much talent they have. I mean, when you have Joel Embiid, Tyrese Maxey, Jaylen Brown, LeBron James, and VJ Edgecombe, it's hard to imagine your team being bad. I mean, if Philly's bad next year, that'll be surprising. But can they win a championship? Maybe. I think they're just going to have to be a different version of themselves than what we expect considering who their players have been in the past. I want to see Jaylen Brown be more effective in an off-ball role than he's ever been before. I think Jaylen Brown has to be really honed in defensively. I want to see him providing elite-level impact on the defensive end of the floor. I want to see him not have such a high usage rate and focus more on being a good spot-up shooter, playing off of Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey. I want to see him being really effective as a cutter and a driver, while also being great handling the ball when Tyrese Maxey isn't on the floor. I want to see LeBron James potentially come off the bench, maybe, and really just flourish in a low usage role where he's putting pressure on the rim, he's hitting threes, getting his teammates involved. We really need to see Joel Embiid be healthy again because he is one of the best talents that we have on the planet. I mean, he is so freakishly good for his size. I want to see Tyrese Maxey continue to develop as an offensive player, and I want to see VJ Edgecombe continue to develop as well because he's really young. This team has a lot of talent. They've got a lot of potential, but I do have some questions about how all of this talent fits together, which is very important. I mean, you can have all the talent in the world, but if the players don't fit together well, if the synergy isn't there, you can really underperform. And I'm just afraid that will happen with this version of the 76ers team. I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong. I hope the 76ers make me look like a fool this upcoming season, and they definitely can. I'm not saying that is out of the realm of possibility. But yeah, I'm a little bit concerned about how all of this talent fits together and whether or not this is the best version of this team to really make a push at a championship. But hopefully it works out well, and hopefully LeBron is able to capture another ring. That would be really cool for his legacy. Winning a championship with a fourth team would be very impressive. So hopefully he is able to do that. But those are my thoughts on the LeBron James signing with the 76ers. I'm going to take a quick break. When I come back, we're going to talk about the sports media, the sports journalism landscape, and why I am a bit pessimistic about it. All right, I am back. Now let's talk about the direction, the future of sports media, and why I am very pessimistic about the direction that this field is going in. And a lot of my pessimism about sports media stems from a few different things. The reliance on hot takes and rage baiting, I think that's a big issue. I think that's one of my bigger issues. A rise in controversies surrounding sports media figures, and kind of the dangers of parasocial relationships that consumers have with these sports media figures. And then lastly, I'm just really concerned about the way that these big brands are treating their employers, especially when they decide to part ways with them. These are my three concerns. Let's start off with how sports media companies and the sports media industry is becoming more reliant on debate culture and a culture of farming views, doing whatever you can to maximize views at the cost of producing quality coverage and quality content. I think this is a huge issue, and we've seen this really become clear with companies like ESPN and Underdog laying off a lot of their staff, a lot of their content creators. So ESPN recently fired a lot of talent at the company, like Tom Pelissero. They're one of, if not their top NFL insider. He was let go. He was one of my favorite NFL insiders. Was always super reliable. Seemed like a great guy. That was sad to see. ESPN also fired Ryan Clark, one of their top MLB guys, baseball announcer Carl Ravitch. He was let go after 33 years. And it seems like a lot of these decisions are made to improve ESPN's return on investment, to improve their profit margin. And there's two big names of the company that have only made more money over the years. They continued to get paid more and more and more while the rest of the company suffers. And the guys I'm referring to are Stephen A. Smith and Pat McAfee. And I don't blame those guys for making the most money possible. I mean, who wouldn't want to do that? Of course, these guys are going to do that. They're very successful. They've done a lot for the ESPN brand and helping them be popular. And so, hats off to them for that. I respect them for that. Get your bag. I'm always going to be pro getting your bag for people in this field. But I think both Stephen A. Smith and Pat McAfee and the content that they produce and the way they go about producing their content highlights how the quality of our content in the sports media field is getting worse and is getting more reliant on rage baiting people, saying the most wild stuff just to get as many views as possible without having substantial content. And I think Stephen A. Smith is way worse about this than Pat McAfee. Pat McAfee really is just like a loud, fun, and rambunctious guy who has a lot of energy. And I don't think he engages in as much rage baiting as Stephen A. Smith does. He definitely does dive into this a little bit. I don't think he is above that. But my main issue with Pat McAfee, and this is just because I'm a grumpy old man who's a nerd, I like really in-depth sports content. I like watching a lot of in-depth sports analysis on YouTube, people going through stats and film. I like that. I also like more entertainment-based shows like Player's Choice. I really like that podcast. I'll watch those shows from time to time. I love guys like Rusty Buckets, Motown Noah. He's a smaller content creator on YouTube who I really enjoy. And then you've got like Brett Coleman, one of my favorite creators on the platform. He's awesome. I love his channel, Bootleg Football, that he does with his co-host EJ. And then you've got Thinking Basketball, created by Ben Taylor. That's the type of content that I really like. But I understand why people enjoy, content that's more centered around entertainment rather than like in-depth analysis. And I think both Stephen A. Smith and Pat McAfee fit in that camp. And that's not a bad thing. But I think it becomes a problem when the main reason why you're creating the content is just to generate as many views as humanly possible, and you're setting aside quality. And you're not making that a very high priority. And I think Stephen A. Smith is egregious with that. I mean, it gets so bad sometimes where I and a lot of people think and question whether or not he's actually watching games. I mean, it really is that bad. And Stephen A. Smith, at one point, was really influential for me. I mean, I went to college and got a degree in journalism because I wanted to be in sports media. And there was a time where I looked up to Stephen A. Smith and I was like, I want to be him. Like, I want to do that when I'm growing up. But over the years, his content on ESPN has just gotten so bad and low tier. I mean, it's just, there's very little substance in what he says. He's just really loud and vibrant, which it can be fun to watch. But at the end of the day, I personally need substance. Like, I need more than just someone being loud and being combative. Like, I need you to actually make a point, especially when you're doing a debate show like First Take. And Stephen A. Smith just doesn't have it. He just doesn't bring substantial arguments to the table, which is frustrating. Because I think in sports media, we can have a good balance of entertainment and in-depth analysis. I think we can balance the fun back and forth that you get on First Take with the in-depth analysis that you get on shows like NFL Live. I mean, NFL Live is an awesome show. And I think we can find a balance there. And that would make for some really good content. And I know ESPN has to focus on generating views and generating money. You can't set that to the side and only care about creating quality content. I get that. But we've got to have some balance here. With Stephen A. Smith, his content has gotten so bad that I'll see clips on Twitter or X, and I'm like, man, I am fully confident that I can go on First Take and destroy Stephen A. Smith in a debate, which is such a low bar now. I mean, that's how bad. That's how bad his arguments, his debates are. That's how bad he is on First Take. I mean, the content is just not very good, respectfully. Now, I mean, I respect the impact that Stephen A. Smith has had on sports media, what he's done with First Take. He's had a great career, and I respect him for that. But in the year of 2026, he's just not that great anymore. And it's sad for me to see a lot of people at ESPN that I think, produce amazing content and do great work in their fields get let go so that ESPN can pay Stephen A. Smith and Pat McAfee a lot of money. I get the value that Stephen A. Smith and Pat McAfee bring to the table, but there are so many other people at that company that, in my opinion, just produce a lot higher quality stuff than those guys. And I think it's really unfortunate the way that the ESPN, for example, is letting people go. I mean, they fired Ryan Clark, and they let him know while he was on the air. I mean, how brutal is that? And I think Ryan Clark was at ESPN for, I want to say 11 years is what I heard. Maybe that's too long, but I'm pretty sure he was there. I mean, he was there for a while. And then the baseball announcer, Carl Ravitch, he was there for 33 years and allegedly learned that he was being let go via social media. I mean, that is so crummy. So crummy. That was kind of my third point that I wanted to talk about. I mean, these companies are just not treating their employers, the way they probably should. I mean, when you fire someone, you need to let them know, like, hey, we're going to let you go, so that they don't find that out while they're on the air or while they're scrolling Twitter. I mean, that's the worst way to find out that you're being fired. So that's another problem I have with the sports media landscape. And then lastly, we've seen some pretty big controversies with very popular members of sports media. For example, Diana Rossini and her affair with Mike Vrabel came to light a few months ago. That was horrible. I mean, that was awful. That really put a stain on NFL insiders, especially women in that field. That was really unfortunate. And then now we're dealing with Matt Miller, one of ESPN's top NFL draft analysts. Recently, it came to light that he was potentially scamming people out of money by not paying out winners of fantasy football leagues. There have also been allegations that he was potentially creating these fake charities and fake scholarship foundations. And then shortly after all of this started to come to light, he got into a car accident, a horrific car accident, in which he had to be life-flighted to a hospital. He had his left arm amputated, and thank God he survived. And that's horrible that he went through that he was involved in a car accident. That's terrible. But then, shortly after that, his family started to GoFundMe for him, which, considering the controversy and the now open investigation from the Attorney General in Missouri, that just was a bad look. And I think it's really, these controversies highlight an issue where a lot of people in sports media are now these huge personalities. They are no longer journalists. They are now personalities who are entertaining, the public. They are now involved in these parasocial relationships, and they're getting really close with people in the leagues that they cover. Um, I mean, Diana getting close with Mike Vrabel ended in an affair. Matt Miller, having these parasocial relationships with people that like his content allowed him to create these fantasy football leagues, allegedly, and then get these people involved. And he was running these leagues like through his personal social media, so people were like, okay, this has to be trustworthy, and they were giving him their money. And it sounds like he just wasn't paying it out. Now, all of this is alleged. There's still an ongoing investigation. But based on a recent report in The Athletic, it sounds like the evidence is pretty good. We'll see how this investigation plays out for Matt. But, yeah, I'm just really pessimistic about traditional sports media. On social media, it's great. I mean, we have so many people creating great content independently. Like, I named a bunch of people earlier. We even have guys like the baseball space. Foolish Baseball is awesome. Giraffe Neck Mark, he's great. I'm not even a baseball fan, really, but I love watching those guys' content because it's good. Sports media is going in a really bad direction. And even with independent content creators, you'll have guys just saying the most outlandish stuff just to get views. Like, I see this with professional athletes all the time. They are done playing their sport, then they get into media, and they'll start a podcast, and they'll just start saying the most outlandish stuff, while also telling people that they can't have an opinion because they didn't play the sport professionally. And the athletes that say this, a lot of the times, their conversations that they're having on their platforms are as in-depth as the conversations I was having with friends at lunch when I was in middle school. And I was a moron back then. So, yeah, that's my rant on sports media. I think we're going in a really bad direction. I just desperately wish that these big platforms, these major traditional media companies cared more about producing quality content than maximizing their profit margin. And I'm not saying they need to just set aside their profit margin. I want more quality content. I mean, I used to watch SportsCenter and ESPN every day. Like, before I went to school growing up, I would watch SportsCenter. I never watch ESPN anymore. I used to watch First Take all the time. I never watch First Take anymore. The only time I ever see anything from First Take is when I see it on social media. But outside of that, I am not watching ESPN. I don't watch Fox Sports. I don't watch Colin Cowherd. I don't watch Nick Wright. I don't watch these guys. I'm watching these independent content creators because their content is so much better. And it's really unfortunate. The worldwide leader in sports, ESPN, is no longer producing the best content in the field. These independent content creators are. And I haven't even talked about Underdog yet. I mean, Underdog, they've gone through their own layoffs where I believe they've just decimated their entire their entire content department. So I don't know if they're producing any original content anymore. Underdog is focusing solely on sports betting. And so we've got a lot of content creators that have lost their jobs due to all of that, like Josh Norris. I'm a huge fan of him. Hayden Winks, who hosted a show with Josh Norris, both of those guys, I'm a huge fan of. They've now since gone to Yahoo Sports, thankfully, so they're doing fine. But like, Underdog was producing some amazing content on their platforms, and now their content's gone. So I'm just really pessimistic about sports media. I'm someone who cares a lot about this field because I wanted to be a part of this field for so long. And so I care a lot about it. I care a lot about sports. I love consuming content as well as producing it myself. And so I hold myself to a high standard, and I want all of the people in this field to hold ourselves to a high standard, and it feels like we just aren't. These major companies are prioritizing profits over quality of content, which is really unfortunate. But those are my thoughts about that. I'm going to take one more break. When I come back, I'm going to talk about the Odyssey, and then we'll wrap up this show. All right, let's wrap up today's episode by talking about Christopher Nolan's latest film, The Odyssey. This is a movie I've been hyped about for a long time. When it was first announced, I was like, oh yeah, this is going to be really good. I'm super excited about that. I got my tickets early. I actually saw it on the Thursday that it came out. Like the night before it was really like officially released, I went and saw it in my local AMC theater. Went with a couple of friends. Me and one of my close friends, Thomas, who has actually been on the podcast before. We're both big Nolan fans, and we were very excited about the film. And this is a movie that has been discussed a lot on social media. There's been a lot of people criticizing the movie, even before it came out, regarding some casting decisions. People calling the movie woke for casting Elliot Page, who is now a trans man, and then also casting, I want to get her name right. I want to make sure I get this name right, but people did not like the casting of Helen of Troy because the woman that they cast, they viewed as not pretty enough, and obviously Helen of Troy is supposed to be the most beautiful woman on the planet. Let me get this woman's name, because I want to be respectful. I want to make sure I get her name right. Give me just a second. I'm pulling up the cast list on IMDb. Let me find this real quick. For some reason that is not working. Let me pull up the movie Us. Okay. Lupita Nyong'o. She was cast as Helen of Troy, and people didn't like that because they didn't view her as being attractive enough for the Helen of Troy role. People were also just upset about there not being like Greek people in the cast. And so a lot of people were very pessimistic about the Odyssey going into the movie. A lot of people online. I mean, and this is like a small subsection of people. It's like a loud minority. Now, I was very optimistic about the movie going in. I'm not one of those people that was like, oh, this casting sucks. This is going to be terrible. The dialogue's too modern. No, I went into the movie very excited. And I had very high expectations. I was expecting it to be one of the like more grand and impressive movies I've ever seen due to the scale of it. And I am happy to say that it was. This is such an impressive accomplishment. The scale of the movie is so insane, considering that Christopher Nolan is so heavily reliant on practical effects and doesn't like using CGI and visual effects when he doesn't have to. And when you know a lot about the background on how some of the scenes were filmed, it's like, what in the world? How did this movie even get made? And it makes it unbelievably impressive that it was filmed in 91 days. There are so many terrifying scenes. There's some horror elements that are incredible. The scale of the monsters in the movie are wild. I mean, there's a scene where there's an army in a cave with a Cyclops, and the Cyclops looks and sounds terrifying. And they actually filmed that in a cave with a giant puppet that the crew created for the scene. Like, that's so unbelievable. And I thought the score was phenomenal. The music was great. The sound design was pretty impressive. It's a very loud movie, and I've seen a lot of people criticizing the movie for that. But I felt like the volume actually made it feel like you were there. There's a scene where the crew is on a ship in the middle of a storm, and it feels like you're actually dying. I mean, it feels like you're there with them. And then all the actors did a great job. All of them. I mean, this is probably one of, if not the best performance of Matt Damon's career. I mean, he has to do so much in this film. The amount of responsibility that he had in this role as Odysseus is wild, and he does a great job. Anne Hathaway is amazing in this movie. She crushes it as Penelope. She's phenomenal. Robert Pattinson, as always, is great. He's a guy I've become a huge fan of over the years. And then you had, let me name some of the, there were some people that had smaller roles in this movie. John Leguizamo, who played Eumaeus, the blind man, he was incredible. I mean, terrific in that role. He knocked it out of the park. And then I want to get the actress who played the witch right, because she was phenomenal as well. I mean, she crushed it. Let me get her name. Samantha Morton. Samantha Morton plays a witch in the movie, and she has a scene where there's a horror sequence and crushes it. I mean, just terrific performance. Arguably the best in the movie. I mean, she's in the movie for only a few minutes and raises the bar for everyone else. I mean, it really was that impressive, and that scene was absolutely terrifying. One of the more disturbing scenes I've ever seen in a movie. That was incredible. I thought Tom Holland was awesome in his role. I've seen a lot of people criticizing him, but I think a lot of the criticisms of his performance are unfair, and I think a lot of the people criticizing him don't understand his character and what he's trying to do. His character is not meant to be like super loud and vibrant. He's supposed to be a little more timid. And it's a coming-of-age story in a way for his character. And I thought he handled it very well. It was a more mature role than he's used to for a lot of his roles, I will say. And I thought he did a great job. And even the people who people didn't like that they were even cast did a great job. Travis Scott has a very small role, but he's great in the movie. He's basically this guy sharing stories about Odysseus, and he's in the movie at the opening, in like the opening scene, and it's super hyped. It's awesome. He was really good. Elliot Page was awesome. Elliot did a phenomenal job in this movie, especially in the Hades scene. Just incredible performance from Elliot. Really, everyone did a great job. I mean, I thought Mia Goth was good in her small role. I mean, there really wasn't anybody doing a bad performance. The one person whose performance I didn't love, and this is the only one where I was like, I feel like you're probably, not really raising the bar for this movie, and that was Benny Safdie. Now, I love Benny Safdie, and he did a lot of aura farming as Agamemnon, but when he actually has a speaking role in the Hades scene, his voice is kind of bad, in my opinion. He's just talking with his regular voice. I was expecting a little bit of a lower register, but it's just Benny Safdie, and his voice doesn't really fit Agamemnon. He didn't really have much emotion in his voice, I felt, and so his performance just kind of fell flat for me. But when he isn't talking, he's really good. I mean, he just aura farms the whole time. But yeah, everyone did a great job. And I was really impressed by the themes of the movie. I don't want to get into spoilers if you haven't seen the movie, but Christopher Nolan takes a lot of creative liberties with this film regarding the themes. And it's a very modern retelling of the Odyssey. And a lot of people don't like that. And I understand. Everyone can have their own preference. But I thought the themes that Christopher Nolan explores later in the film regarding the sacking of Troy made this movie special. It was going to be a very impressive movie due to the scale, but I thought the themes explored in this movie took it to a whole nother level. And of course, the final third act is tremendous. The final fight scene's amazing. The plucking of the bow, fitting with the score in the background, is awesome. The monsters are really scary. I mean, it's a really impressive movie. And if you're someone who was a little bit skeptical of this film due to the casting choices, I promise a lot of these people are not in the movie that long, and also their performances are just so good. I mean, everyone did a really good job in this movie. It's so impressive. Some of the criticisms people have for this movie are fair, like the modern dialogue. If you don't like that, I get it. Some of the editing can be a little bit choppy. I think that's fair to criticize, and it's not a perfect one-to-one adaptation. Christopher Nolan does modernize the Odyssey a lot, and yeah, there's a lot of people who, I don't know if anyone in the cast is Greek. So if that bothers you, hey, I mean, okay. But for me, as someone who loves movies and was looking for something that was grand, had a huge scale, and was looking for something that was really fun and exciting and pushed the bounds of what we're used to seeing in film, I thought it exceeded my expectations. It's very impressive. Go see it in theaters. Don't wait to watch it at home. Go see it in theaters. It's awesome. And I think a lot of people criticizing the movie online are they're missing out, in my opinion. It really is special. I mean, my own family loved it. All my friends loved it. I'm a huge fan of it. I think it's some of Christopher Nolan's most impressive work. It's awesome. Go see it in theaters. But that's it for today's episode of the podcast. I hope you all enjoyed it. And if you did, please leave a review on wherever you listen to your podcast, whether it be Spotify or Apple Podcast. And if you're watching this on YouTube, please leave a like and subscribe. And I will see y'all next time. Peace.